Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Okay, there you go. Welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. This is the show that tells you the truth about hemp and cannabis. And we are a production of our nonprofit organization, the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, or THCF, and our affiliated political committee, the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, or CRRH. We've been off the air. We've only done one show since the end of June, but we're ready to bring you another good show tonight. Mr. Tim Pate is here to provide musical accompaniment. He'll be joining me on the show. Hey, Tim. And, boy, we have a few surprises for you, so stay tuned. We've got a ton of medicinal cannabis bottles here for our show and tell segment. We're going to run a clip from the Ron Mann film called Grass, about the history of marijuana, narrated by Woody Harrelson, and more stuff. So stay tuned, and we're going to buy a few seconds as we show you our infamous dancing cannabis leaves. Okay, tonight's first story on hemp news is from the Star Telegram. It's actually from Austin, Texas. It's been decades since Willie Nelson smoked that first joint in Fort Worth, but ain't it funny how time slips away? He's still singing the praises of cannabis. On Friday, today, the country music legend headlines the Austin Freedom Fest, a benefit concert for 4 pro-marijuana groups, including the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Nelson co-chairs NORML's advisory board. The Hill Country crooner wrote in his 1988 biography, Willie, quote, "Marijuana is like sex. If I don't do it every day, I get a headache," end quote. Nelson first smoked marijuana in 1954 in Fort Worth, where he spent his formative years in and out of the rough-and-tumble honky-tonks off Jacksonboro Highway. More than 20 years later, Nelson admits he smoked grass on the White House roof when Jimmy Carter was president with the Carter Boys. Nelson wrote, quote, "Marijuana should be recognized for what it is, as a medicine, an herb that grows in the ground. If you need it, use it. People who smoke it and get real paranoid don't need it," end quote. The concert at the Backyard in Austin will bring together a variety of musicians and activists, all united by the goal of easing restrictions on marijuana. Nelson will be joined on stage by the Texas swing band Asleep at the Wheel. Also performing at the concert are Paula Nelson, Jackie, the Joke Man Martling, and Carolyn Wonderland. Mark Stepnikowski, a pro-legalization activist and former Cowboy player and all-pro tackle for our center, actually, for the Dallas Cowboys, is helping organize the event. The general admission tickets are going for $52, and reserve seats could be had for $62 as of Thursday. VIP tickets are also all sold out. The proceeds from the event will be split evenly among NORML, the Marijuana Policy Project, the Women's Alliance for Medical Marijuana, and Green Aid, a legal defense fund, organizers said. Our next story is from Washington, D.C. Smoking warnings call for education, and respiratory risks can be mitigated by vaporization and regulation of cannabis. Recent media reports alleging that the daily use of cannabis may impede certain lung functions should be seen as an opportunity to better educate marijuana consumers about ways to mitigate the health risks associated with smoking. The widely reported study, published online in the journal Thorax, found that the daily long-term smoking of cannabis cigarettes obstructed airflow to the lungs in a manner equivalent to smoking 2.5 to 5 cigarettes in succession. Investigators hypothesized that this result was because some marijuana smokers may consume greater quantities of both tar and carcinogenic hydrocarbons than do those who inhale filtered tobacco cigarettes. Heavy use of cannabis was also associated with wheezing, cough, chest tightness, the researchers found. However, the investigators did not find a positive association between smoking cannabis and the development of emphysema, or overinflation of the air sacs of the lungs. Emphysema is the most common cause of death from respiratory disease in the United States. Cannabis consumers have long been aware that smoking marijuana cigarettes can irritate the lungs, but most of cannabis's potential health risks to the respiratory system can be eliminated by vaporization. By heating marijuana to a temperature where active cannabis vapors form, but below the point of combustion, consumers significantly reduce their intake of gaseous combustion toxins, including carbon monoxide. Most recently, investigators at San Francisco's General Hospital reported in the journal Clinical Pharmacology and Therapeutics that the, quote, vaporization of marijuana does not result in exposure to combustion gases and is preferred by most subjects compared to marijuana cigarettes, end quote. A previous clinical trial published in the 2006 Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences reported that vaporization is, quote, safe and effective, end quote, a cannabinoid delivery system that avoids respiratory disadvantages of smoking. Cannabis smoking is not positively associated with cancers of the lung, mouth, or upper aerodigestive tract. In 2006, the results of the largest case-controlled study ever to investigate the respiratory effects of marijuana smoking reported that cannabis use was not associated with cancer, even among subjects who reported smoking more than 22,000 joints over their lifetime. While smoking cannabis may pose some minor respiratory risks to the users, these health risks are far less than those posed by tobacco smoking and may be significantly mitigated by engaging in vaporization as an alternative to smoking. Unfortunately, cannabis prohibition greatly limits consumer access to such devices and impedes technological advances in this area, subjecting users to respiratory risks that they would otherwise avoid. The information in this normal white paper, Cannabis Smoking Cancer Assessing the Risk, is available online at normal.org. That's NORML.org. Our next story is actually from Jerusalem in Israel. The cannabis receptor system offers a novel target for osteoporosis treatment, according to a new study. The endocannabinoid system, or the natural cannabis-like chemicals in the neurosystem, play a significant role in the skeletal remodeling, the process whereby old bone is removed and new bone is added, and is an ideal target for anti-osteoporotic drug development, according to a forthcoming review to be published in the Journal of the Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences. Investigators at the Bone Laboratory of the Hebrew University in Jerusalem reported that the activation of the CB2 cannabinoid receptor reduces experimentally induced bone loss and stimulates bone formation. The authors concluded, quote, a therapy based on synthetic CB2 agonists is a promising novel target for anti-osteoporotic drug development, end quote. The investigators had previously reported that mice deficient in CB2 receptors exhibit markedly accelerated age-related bone loss, or osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is a degenerative skeletal disease characterized by a deterioration of bone tissue. Approximately 10 million Americans over the age of 50 suffer from osteoporosis, and another 34 million are at risk for developing the disease. The full text of the study, Regulation of Skeletal Remodeling by the Endocannabinoid System, will appear in the Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences. Additional information on cannabis and osteoporosis is also available from NORML in a new booklet, Emerging Clinical Applications for Cannabis and Cannabinoids, at the NORML website. Another story tonight is from Ottawa, Canada. Canada has approved a new cannabis spray for cancer pain. Canadian health officials granted regulatory approval this week to Sativex, an oral spray consisting of natural cannabis extracts, as an adjunctive analgesic treatment in adult patients with advanced cancer. Sativex is already available in Canada by prescription for the treatment of pain associated with multiple sclerosis. Regulators in Great Britain and Spain have also granted limited regulatory approval for the drug. In clinical trials, patients with cancer who were unresponsive to opioids reported significantly improved pain relief after Sativex administration. Produced by the British biotechnology firm GW Pharmaceuticals, Sativex is a whole plant medicinal cannabis extract containing precise doses of cannabinoids THC, or tetrahydrocannabinol, and CBD, or cannabidiol, as well as the naturally existing terpenoids and flavonoids. Despite the drug's growing acceptance in Canada, the company recently withdrew its application for European regulatory approval after UK regulators demanded additional clinical data on the drug. For more information, you can visit GW Pharm, that's GWPHARM.com. Our last story tonight is from Britain, and it's published in The Guardian, but it's about the United States. What is the most valuable cash crop in America? If you answered wheat or corn, then you've either been eating too many Fruit Loops or you haven't been inhaling deeply enough. As any fan of Weeds, Showtime's hit series about the dope-dealing suburban mom, will tell you, when it comes to hard cash these days, cannabis is king. According to a study by John Getman of the Coalition for Rescheduling Cannabis, marijuana cultivation in the U.S. is now worth a staggering $35 billion a year, making Mary J. bigger than corn and wheat combined. And that's just the illegal variety. Cross the California state line and search out a sympathetic physician, you can purchase cannabis and even cannabis-laced Munchie Way bars, and perfectly legal at one of the state's 600 medical marijuana dispensaries. Little wonder that the White House is up in arms. Never mind the war on terror, scream the neocons. What about the war on weed? Perhaps that explains why last month the Drug Enforcement Administration torched 60,000 marijuana plants with a street value of $30 million, concealed in a forested preserve in Cook County, Illinois, as part of a nationwide campaign against marijuana cultivation on public lands. Or why 2 weeks ago the DEA raided 10 marijuana dispensaries in Los Angeles and charged 4 operators with violating the Controlled Substances Act. Or why the DEA has been using the same federal drug laws to target the cultivation of industrial hemp on Indian reservations in South Dakota. Never mind that hemp, used in everything from rope making to clothing to car door insulation, is ideal for the dry climate of the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, where farmers like Alex Whiteplume and other members of the Oglala Sioux tribe eke out a living, or that hemp contains only traces of THC, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana that gets you high, or that in the 1930s the federal government encouraged the Oglala to cultivate hemp to ease the effects of the Great Depression. According to the DEA, hemp fields could be used to conceal high THC-bearing strains, hence the Fed's zero-tolerance policy. The crackdown comes as Bush's drug czar, John Walters, in a series of statements that recall the reefer madness campaigns of the 1930s, has sought to demonize marijuana in the public's mind, claiming the current strains are far stronger than, quote, mom-and-pop varieties popular in the 60s and 70s, end quote. In fact, according to the DEA's own handbook, of more than 4,600 domestic strains analyzed by the government between 1998 and 2002, fewer than 2% were found to contain THC levels above 20%. But such is the paranoia in the USA today about any form of subversive activity that now even local law enforcement officials are getting in on the act. Hence the raid last month on Dennis Day Yuxo, a 71-year-old hippie and veteran of the Woodstock Festival, by anti-narcotics police dressed in Kevlar jackets. Kustov, a leading light in Woodstock's Rainbow Tribe, was charged with possession of just 2 grams of marijuana, hardly enough to get a hamster buzzed, let alone Fat Freddy's cat. The irony is that the crackdown coincides with the 70th anniversary of the Marijuana Tax Act, a federal law that, like the Controlled Substances Act, which replaced it, proved a spectacular failure. The 1937 Act was conceived as a tax on buyers and sellers, but the penalties for noncompliance were so draconian that it effectively functioned as a ban, prompting the removal of cannabis from the U.S. pharmacopoeia in 1942 because it required buyers to purchase a stamp. It also clashed with the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Unfortunately, the 1970 Controlled Substances Act has proved even more punitive, replacing marijuana in the same category as heroin and LSD, with stiff 20-year jail terms for those caught trafficking across state lines. Yet for all that, the White House has sought to demonize dope. Remains as popular as ever. In a survey last year, 28 million Americans admitted to smoking cannabis, and approximately 85% of high school seniors described cannabis as easy to get, a figure that's remained virtually unchanged since 1975. And this despite a record 800,000 cannabis arrests in the United States last year, nearly all for simple possession. That's why our organization and others are out here working to end cannabis prohibition, restore industrial hemp, and help medical marijuana patients. Well, that's the end of our hemp news segment tonight, and now we're going to let Mr. Tim Pate sing us a couple songs. How are you doing over there, Tim?
I am doing really, really well. I'm a two-fisted guitar player tonight.
All right. How can you play both at once?
Well, I can't. But what I did was I got another guitar from the guitar company that has sponsored me for a long time. And
right.
Got Tommy Chong to sign it, and I'm going to give this one away next weekend at the Seattle Hemp Fest. So
next week we have the largest pro-marijuana rally in the United States.
That's
the
right.
Seattle Hemp Fest.
It's the very biggest one in the world.
And that's coming up on the 18th and 19th.
That's right. 2-day event. I'll be opening main stage both days, and also I'll be on the Sealy stage at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon for an hour.
And you're going to be opening the main stage at this year's Hempstock Festival.
That is correct.
And we are very happy to tell our viewers that we just, because the ACLU joined us and threatened to sue the city of Portland, we just got permission to go ahead and have our Hempstock Festival. The city attorney for the city of Portland, yes indeed, went to the Parks Department and over their objections told them that they are going to let us have a permit, that they can't just say, no, you can't have a permit. So we've got the Selwood Riverside Park lined up for September 8th and 9th, and that'll be our Hempstock Festival this year. We just found this out yesterday, so we're still in trying to get all of the acts we had initially scheduled to come. We had Tommy Chong lined up, we had John Trudell, we had Human and the Human Revolution. Most of those guys have already scheduled something else. But we'll have a lot of good bands. Tim will be opening, and we'll have more to tell you in the coming weeks. But we've all got to get real busy so we can pull this thing off 4 weeks from now with very little preparation. But anyway, Tim, you got a song for us tonight?
Sure, why not? Also, we're going to need some volunteers, so any of you who are interested, call the numbers that are on the phone here in a little bit and call us, because we will need your help.
Call us at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. I think we're going to have a great event at our 3rd annual Hempstock Festival and gear up for an even better one next year.
Jingle the News.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. We are taking your calls tonight. It is the 10th of August, 2007, and Mr. Tim Pate will be coming over here to join us, so might hear a few bumps and scratches. But if you have a call for us tonight, Friday night, the 10th of August, 2007, call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And I guess we do have a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Paul?
Hello, caller.
Paul?
We always have a few sound difficulties getting everything wired up. You got to realize we're all volunteers here.
Hello,
There's
Paul.
about 10 people behind the cameras. There's 4 cameras spread out, and 5 or 6 more people in the studio. So let's try that one more
Paul?
time. Caller, can you hear us?
Hello, Paul.
Hey.
What's shaking, baby?
Oh, we've been so busy.
It's Sterling. I was just wondering, I've been not in the scene and turn the radio on or just TV, and where is Dawn to pay?
Aha.
And
Good question.
I'm not a very happy camper, so tell me the story, please, because I need to know.
Okay, well, there are some issues regarding Don that I am not at complete liberty to discuss at this time because of some proceedings in federal court.
I understand that,
As
Paul.
we know, as many of you out there know, we received a subpoena for 14 patients' records. And there was a motion that we put out, and we had the national ACLU, fortunately, come forward to represent us to quash that subpoena. And currently, a federal judge in Yakima is waiting to issue a ruling, or
I'm here.
The federal judge is considering his ruling. And so some of that has to do with our friend Don and what Don has decided to do here locally. There was an article just last week in the Portland Tribune that covered Don's latest activities. I recommend you pick that up and read it to find out a little bit more.
I will.
But we have that available online. It was a week ago, last Friday's Portland Tribune had a picture of Don's not smiling face looking through his front door with some big impressions of a battering ram that had been pushed up against his door. But, you know, Don, against our recommendations, decided to do some things that, you know, I know he, in his mind, was trying to help patients, but they've had some negative consequences.
In the back of our mind, he's not fighting what we were all fighting for.
Yeah, now what was that?
It was kind of like a, what do you call it? I don't know, but when I heard it, I thought, oh my goodness, holy smokes.
Yep, it's kind of a shame.
What the heck is going on? So, you know, once a cop, always cop. I'm sorry, but I hate to say that.
I understand.
But he is a great guy. I always thought he was, but, you know, I'm sorry.
We will, as, you know, things progress, we'll be able to announce future developments on our show here.
Well, I wish him and his family the best, but what is fair, and what you're fighting for and what you're doing, 2 wrongs don't make right, or however you want to say it.
A lot of good cliches there. I want to thank you for your phone call.
Take care, you guys. Have
You too.
a party on.
Thanks.
Bye.
We will. And then if you're out there and you're watching us tonight on the 10th of August, 2007, then you can call that number that's there on your screen. It's 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls for upcoming hour. The Hemp News segment ran on quite a while there, didn't it?
I think it was an important news segment.
There was a lot of news. You know, I avoided the older news. You know, we haven't been on here for but 1 week out of the past 6.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot of other older news that I didn't even go through.
There's
pulled some of the recent
interesting
ones.
studies out of England right now on the psychosis of it, you know, effects of later life, and I have some doubts about the efficacy of that study myself.
Well, you know, I know from my own experience with roommates that people who have a tendency towards schizophrenia can have a negative response with cannabis. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it where people who smoke cannabis, it can induce a psychotic response.
It can make a normal person paranoid.
Well, no, they're not normal. That's the thing. They already have a predisposition to schizophrenia.
When I worked with Whitebird, you could tell when somebody already had a lot on their plate by the time they got to your door.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
So I think that's what you're referring to. There's something else going on, and that's going to make
cannabis just kind of pushes them over the edge if they already have that tendency.
Yeah, what I meant was really good medicine will turn a normal person paranoid anyway.
So if they're inexperienced,
yes,
it will.
It will. In response to the comments about Don, I have to say that Don's a warrior. And just like many of us who've been involved in this fight for such a long, long time, I consider Don a warrior, and I wish him well in his pursuits. And it's never fun when you have to deal with any type of legal system, or they call you to carpet on for any reason at all. And so our wishes are truly with Don at this time. And
I do know that Don said on several occasions that he wished that the feds would come in and mess with him. So sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for.
That's true.
You might get it.
I don't necessarily want to be a martyr, but I sure would love to see these laws changed.
I sure would too, and that's what we're all about, including Don, Tim, me, the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, the Cannabis Common Sense Show, and our political committee, Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, Oregon NORML, Voter Power, the Marijuana Policy Project. We all
the hemp
are
fests,
in favor. Yeah, the hemp fests and the hemp stocks. We all are in favor of the medicinal use of cannabis, but we really want to see marijuana legalized and taxed and regulated and sold to adults, the way it should be, and industrial hemp restored to its rightful place, and we should be running our cars on it, and I think we will. That's the real secret behind marijuana prohibition, is that the energy companies don't want to compete with hemp seed oil. And once the price of oil gets so high as it appears to be doing now, hemp will make its natural resurgence because there aren't any other alternatives. Hemp produces 3 times more biodiesel than any other plant out there. And in the end, that's why industrial hemp will have to make a comeback. The forces of evil, the petroleum and petrochemical industries, have prohibited the use of hemp and cannabis and marijuana to protect their economic interests and to further the centralization of economic and political control. And when hemp is restored to its rightful place, then the economy will start to decentralize, and the centralization movement will slowly dissolve. Anyway, are we going to go with a caller or a roll of film? Let's take a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
How you doing?
Pretty well. How are you?
I'm good. I got a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
Being having a felony, are you still able to get a medical marijuana card?
Yes, you can. Even people who are on probation and parole can get a medical marijuana card.
Well, see, when I went for it, when I was on federal probation.
Oh, now not federal probation. Once you're off federal probation, then you can get a medical marijuana card. If you're under federal control, the federal government, if you're on federal probation or federal parole, you can't get a medical marijuana card. If you're on state probation or state parole, you can get a medical marijuana card.
Okay, so...
But once you're free of the federal system, then
I'm completely
you
off.
can get one.
Being completely off, I can try to go for it?
Yes.
Yeah, you definitely can.
Well, it depends upon your medical condition, but...
Yeah, if you have a qualifying condition, then you're definitely able to get a medical marijuana card in any of the western United States that allow it.
I appreciate it, guys.
Sure.
Have a good
Happy
day.
to tell you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we're going to run a little film clip now from this film produced by Ron Mann and narrated by Woody Harrelson. It's called Grass.
Woody.
I think we're going to run the end of the film, so we'll be back in just a moment.
You know, we're taller than Woody.
It's time to smoke. Everybody get high. In the permissive 70s, marijuana seemed to be everywhere. Through movies and television, it had entered the popular culture.
The FBI claims that a huge shipment of grass, which they are calling killer dope, has been smuggled into New York City. The Bureau urges users not to smoke the weed, which is greenish-brown in color, not particularly seedy, and contains mostly cannabis buds. Warning symptoms are a mild euphoria, a slight rise in the pulse rate, some hallucination, and death by laughter within 15 minutes of ingestion. In an effort to aid the FBI in its investigation, Weekend Update is undertaking its own analysis of marijuana sent to us anonymously by any viewers who may be worried. Simply place a small sample of the suspected cannabis in an envelope and send it immediately to Chevy Chase, Apartment 12, 827 West 81st Street, New York City, 10053.
But not everyone was laughing. Worried about teenage marijuana use, a number of concerned parents organized pressure groups to fight the new drug culture.
This is a dashboard pipe that fits onto the dashboard of your car so that you can put pot in here, and then the driver and his date can get stoned as they're tooling down the freeway. This is designed to put some pot in, and then you smoke the pot out of here. Now, you can toss a smoke to a friend if you want to. There are things like bongs, that's B-O-N-G. You put the pot here, light it, the smoke travels down here, collects, and then you get a concentrated volume of smoke by sucking in like this. And I think the label is instructive. Bong, the only thing wasted is you. This too is a bong. It's called a power hitter, and it works by sticking a joint here and then blasting it into your lungs like this. Now, it comes as a Star Wars space gun also.
Oh, Gary.
Just put it in boxes and bags. We'll make a...
Y'all gonna have to leave, I'm sorry. And you are closed, officially closed as of now.
Okay.
Most of the afternoon was spent trying to decide what actually were head shops and drug-related paraphernalia. Managers and owners from head shops around the area testified that the law is now so ambiguous that possibly as much as 80% of their inventory could now be considered illegal. One owner admitted he may be out of work within the week. But most of the afternoon was spent trying to decide what actually were head shops and drug-related paraphernalia. Most of the afternoon was spent trying to... Most of the afternoon was spent trying to decide what were head shops and drug-related paraphernalia. Owners and managers of head shops around...
In the midst of this backlash, Dr. Peter Bourne, Carter's chief drug policy advisor, was caught up in a scandal involving alleged cocaine use. As the press had a field day, the president could no longer afford to appear soft on drugs. His proposal to decriminalize marijuana would die in Congress.
Sick and tired of hearing about all of the radicals and the perverts and the liberals and the leftists and the communists coming out of the closets. It's time for God's people to come out of the closets, out of the churches, and change America. We must do it.
Driven by a sense of righteous indignation, the religious right mobilized into a potent political force. After a brief period of tolerance, America was poised for a major swing the other way.
Leading medical researchers are coming to the conclusion that marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug in the United States, and we haven't begun to find out all of the ill effects, but they are permanent ill effects. The loss of memory, for example.
This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Just say no.
Just say no.
In her crusade for a drug-free America, Mrs. Reagan led school
Our
children...
police officers in schools to spy on... The president today ordered mandatory drug testing for all federal employees. He then called for the nation's industries to screen their...
The Supreme Court has given school principals the right to strip search any student suspected of drug possession.
Citing a threat to national security.
Okay, those are excerpts from the Ron Mann film Grass. If you haven't seen it, you should get it. You can get it at any video store, pretty much. You wanted to say something about the Just Say No campaign?
Well, when I saw Nancy and Ron up there saying Just Say No, it brought back an immediate memory of one of the reasons I got involved in the hemp movement.
Like a nightmare for me.
Well, back in the early 80s, I was working with an organization called Pride of Omaha. That's Parents and Resources and Information for Drug Education. It was a little mom-and-pop organization. They came up with a slogan to get the kids in Council Bluffs, Iowa, to stop taking drugs. Just say no. I was directing a crisis center for pregnant teenagers, and I got on their board of directors and became in charge of public relations. And because of that, we were able to submit a program to a national contest in Atlanta that year that Nancy Reagan happened to be chair of. And
you're kidding.
And because she was the chair of that, she looked through that, and I got an award from Nancy Reagan back in 1984 for the most interesting newsletter she'd ever read. That was the title of the award, the most interesting newsletter. And about a month or two later, she and Ron were saying, Just Say No, all over the place. So I had some responsibility in that line there, and so I'm owning up to it. And when I realized that, I swear to you, I switched. And this was back in 1987 when I finally realized that something had to change. I got involved with the hemp movement, started directing the down tent for the Grateful Dead, and the rest is pretty much...
the rest is history.
It is history. I've been involved now since then. But I was involved before on the other side, and the bad, odd memories.
You've come to the
full circle.
Use the force.
I have.
You left the dark side.
I did leave the dark Ron, yes.
Good. We have a phone call. Hello, caller. You are on our show.
Hi there. I have two things, actually, if you have the time. The first is, I appreciate what you guys are doing. I myself am not... my husband was actually a medical marijuana patient who just actually passed away February of this year.
Our condolences.
At 38 years old, fought cancer for 15 years. And the one thing I would like to say to all those people that say the Just Say No people, sit in a chair for 12 hours with an IV in your arm, take that chemo treatment, come home sicker than a dog, not be able to walk, barely be able to talk, can't eat, can't sleep, and the only thing besides all the medication that the doctors give you that don't work and have many side effects, the only thing that works for a majority of these cancer patients from ages 15 to, I know somebody who's 70 years old that actually has medical marijuana for cancer. Have them go through one day of what these cancer patients go through, and I know it's not just for cancer patients, and say, Just Say No.
True. I agree. That's the truth.
And a lot of these people, until that day comes where something affects them in their life that they cannot control, they have, in my eyes, because like I said, myself, I'm not a medical marijuana user, never have used the stuff, but I saw it take my husband, who was a strapping young man, from, like I said, not even be able to get up and walk himself, to at least being able to eat and feed his body, and it helped him survive for 15 years. So I do want to say thank you to you guys and all the other people that support you.
You're welcome.
And the second issue I did have, too, is once we did get the medical marijuana program, because we do have children in our home, we were unable to, and my husband was very adamant about it, did not want us to have plants in our house because of our young children. So we had a caretaker, or, somebody who was appointed to be his caregiver, who actually ended up taking advantage of my husband and giving my husband the bad stuff,
not the buds, but the leaf.
Right,
just shake stuff. That's a real shame. That's one of the major problems with the medical program. If you don't have someone you know and trust to be your
And we did know him, and we did trust him. However, he also was on it, and then brought in another person that he was a caretaker for, and it seems since my husband, he got the last. But I do want to say, and also another thing is that when my spouse died, his license was renewed. It's supposed to be renewed December of this year. There was no steps for me to take when I called DHS to cancel my husband's license. So the person that was caring for my husband had his plant still going and was not using it appropriately.
I see.
And I wanted to know if there's something that you can tell other people that might be in this situation what steps they can take to protect themselves and or what they need to do if they're caught in this situation.
Okay. Well, I do know some people on the board, and I think it would be a wise move to have some step there whereby you could drop the card. Because patients die. I've known 6 die already who were friends of mine that I was helping take care of at some point or another.
I've had a couple.
And so that is a very common thing, unfortunately. We are a group of very sick people who are on this program.
Right.
And it's the way it is.
Yeah, and I do have to say that there was a gentleman that ended up coming in the later, the last couple of months of my husband's life that helped us out tremendously, and I'm sure he watches your program all the time, but I don't want to mention names.
Sure.
That ended up helping us for a very, very small delivery fee, but it was the top-notch stuff.
Great.
And if he is watching, I just want to give him a shout-out.
You know who you are.
Thank him, too.
Huh?
We want to thank him, too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank
That's
you guys for everything you've done.
Well, thank you.
Okay,
And my
bye-bye.
condolences for your loss there.
Absolutely.
And I can understand the anger. I would have anger towards someone who is keeping, especially for a fellow who's in his dying days, to give him substandard cannabis is disgraceful. And so,
well, like you were saying, it brings out the good and the bad. There was, some people come to and say, hey, here's the very best. For nearly next to nothing. And here's, I can see that. It like anything, you're going to find good and bad in any program.
And we need to talk to the health department about how to cancel those when a patient passes away.
That's a good thought.
Yeah, that is one thing that we should look at in terms of revision of the state law. We're going to do a little show and tell here now. We've got an incredible number of anti-medicinal cannabis bottles. I'm going to start down here with this embossed bottle. It's got embossing here on the bottle itself, right in the glass where it says Cannabis Indica, right across here, and then across the product proprietors in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is approximately $18.90, and this is a cannabis bottle. Here we have organic cannabis, a very lovely bud that one of our volunteers has brought in, and we got to thank you for that. I just wish you guys had smell-o-vision. We say that every now and then, but in this case, it is true. Here we have a specific medicine. This is American hemp, and this thing was filled with 1.5 ounces of cannabis that was used for many different conditions. We have some more specific medicine containers down at the other end, but this one is empty. Now we go to 2 sharpened dome bottles. This one is migraine medicine. I don't know if you can really see that well on TV. Maybe we can come in a little bit more. I don't know if you can with the camera where it's at there. But here's a migraine medicine. This had aspirin. Let me just take a look here. An aspirin derivative and cannabis as the main active ingredients in this sharpened dome medicine. Then next door, we have another sharpened dome cannabis tincture extract. And again, you can see Sharp & Dome at the bottom of that. That company is still in existence. And then now we come on to Eli Lilly products. Here is cannabis extract number 17. It says number 17 there. And from Eli Lilly, another company that's still with us today. And here we have tincture of cannabis, number 96, also from Eli Lilly, an Eli Lilly medicine. Then now we have 2 Park Davis medicines. Both of these are cannabis tinctures. This one is from 1890 and this one 1910. The bottles are a little bit different. All of these bottles so far, with the exception of the specific cannabis American hemp bottle, have been cork enclosed with a cork. But both of these are from Park Davis. And this one label, it's got a back label too that's not in as good condition, you can see there, but that's the way these things come down to us once they get that old. Then here we get a nifty collodion soliloquy. This is an aspirin and cannabis bottle that was used for treatment of corns and warts and things like that, and you'd put a little bit of that on there. And this is actually another one that's aspirin and cannabis. And you put this one, you open up, and it's got this little plaster. And you cut this plaster up and put that on your skin for warts and corns and things like that. This one is from Seabury and Company. That's the predecessor to Johnson & Johnson. It's Seabury & Johnson. And from Philadelphia. Here from 1890 we have Sensa pills. These are cannabis pills, a tonic and nerve sedative. That's what it says on the Sensa pills. Then next we have Upjohn, another company that's out there still, with these teeny tiny cannabis pills. They're very small. This bottle is full. So we've actually got 5 things here that are still pretty much full. The plaster, the Sensa, the Upjohn cannabis pills. Then here we have for neuralgia pain from the this is about 1890 from Mulford and pharmacists. And then here are 2 more specific cannabis bottles. These are pretty much identical, but again separated by about 20 years. This one is the older of the 2, came from a New Mexico auction, and is just almost full of the old tincture in there, and the cork has come out. The next door we have an empty one. It has a screw top here that has a nifty little embossed label. And that is the end of our antique. We had 15, count them, 15 antique cannabis bottles here. Next door, from Manitoba, we have hemp protein powder. You can make hemp burgers out of this, hemp shakes. It's 50% protein, has all the omega-6 and 3s and omega-9, the essential fatty acids you need for a healthy immune system. And then next door, we have Dr. Bronner's Magic Pure Castile and hemp peppermint soap. Hemp peppermint soap from Dr. Bronner. And that's another nifty thing. So then we have a couple more items I'm going to show here. This was donated by Ico, and this is a nifty hemp bracelet we're going to auction off on eBay one of these days soon. And it's got a pendant in there. It's made from hemp fiber. And finally, I had the great pleasure of going to Kona on the Big Island. They had these at Paradise Hemp Store in Kona, this nifty hemp bag. So you don't need to have shopping bags when you can, why waste a tree when you can use Paradise Hemp's nifty hemp bags. That's the end of our show and tell, or as the kids call it today, sharing. We've been sharing with you.
It's quite a lot to share.
It is. It's a lot of sharing there. I would say that what we have out on the table here, you know, the hemp items aren't that expensive, but these antique cannabis bottles are probably $3,000 to $4,000 worth of antiques.
Beyond that, the value, just the knowledge, the historical knowledge that this was an item that was so widely used throughout civilization, every civilization, that it's astounding that it ever got stopped and that people didn't put up more of a fight when that happened. How many different medicines we have, and how widely they were used.
Oh, yeah. For all these different things. I mean, reading some of these labels can be an education in itself. Like this one says, the range of actions of this remedy, although realized as a mild opiate, are very wide, and it goes into a long explanation of what can be used, what this can be used for.
A lot
of different things.
A lot of different things, and still does. It's still available, but you need a license.
So if you are out there tonight on the 10th of August, 2007, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448, and we do have a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Very good. We're doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm kind of bummed to hear about Paul's recent incident with the Federals, but other than that, well.
You mean Don's?
Yeah.
I went down and listened to the ACLU argue to quash the subpoena in federal court, but fortunately, at least as far as I know, I'm not currently, to my knowledge, a target of that investigation. But
that's always a good thing.
Our friend Don is, unfortunately.
Well, I wanted to remind all the viewers out there that right now is a good time to start mulching your outdoor plants and watering them with a PK, high PK, and no nitrogen.
Yep, they're on the verge of starting to flower.
Yeah, and it's time to start giving them a lot of water because we're starting to get into the drier months.
That's true. That's true. Very good point.
And watch out for botrytis and powdery mildew.
Mhm.
Keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
And the low-flying planes without markings.
That would be another one, too.
One to watch out for. You know, tomorrow, actually, Oregon Normal is going to have their patient-only meeting.
Very good.
And that's going to take place at Mount Tabor Theater. They're back at Mount
Yes.
Tabor. Mount Tabor's under new ownership and has been remodeled. And I haven't seen it yet, but I will be there tomorrow. And I understand that it is a much nicer venue.
All right.
Have you ever been to one of those Oregon Normal things?
I haven't. And I have some clones to donate.
Well, I'll tell you, they need them. Anybody out there that has extra clones, please bring them down. Now, this thing starts at about 11:30, and the doors are closed by noon so that they can do what needs to be done between patients. But I do know that right now they need clones or medicine, so they have something to give away. So if you can get there before 11:30 in the morning at the corner of Southeast 49th and Hawthorne at the Mount Tabor Theater, the folks at Oregon Normal and the patients that will be there will be very, very grateful.
That's right.
I'm not a normal member.
You don't have to be if you're
can
donating
join
stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
If you come in with a donation, they're going to let you in and say thank you very much.
Oh,
If you want to get donations, I think they require people to join their organization. Then those people can come to 12 meetings because of these 12 patient meetings that they have each month. It's always on the second Saturday, and this month that is tomorrow, August 11th.
So, 49th and Hawthorne?
Yep, 49th and Southeast
11:30
Hawthorne.
is when the doors open, 12 o'clock is when they close?
Exactly. Or if you're there before 11:30, if you've got some donations, come as early as 10 a.m. or 10:30 a.m., and people will be there that can be very grateful to get those ready to give away to patients. If you have any
Where
extra
can I
clones,
park?
Say that again?
I'm not watched.
Yeah, you got to watch out. Hopefully, we've had good things and bad things there. But I've never had any problem taking clones in or medicine in myself.
All right. Well, I'll set the alarm and I'll see if I can get there.
All right. Well, we hope to see you.
Ultra and some White Widow and Great White Shark. So.
Yep. Hey, that sounds great. There's a little. The doors open at 11. They'll be closing promptly at 12, so you don't want to be late.
All right.
And I know they can only take 250 or 300 people in there. There's certain limits on the amount of people that the building can hold.
All right. Well, thank you very much. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. I want to remind our viewers out there, too, that if you are a medical card holder, that we have classes to help patients learn how to comply with the law, how to grow cannabis, how to make medicinal grade hashish. Just contact our office. I also want to tell you that if you think you might qualify for medical marijuana, or you have someone out there that has one of the conditions, whether it be chronic pain, that is the condition by which the most people qualify. It can be AIDS, it can be cancer, spastic conditions like multiple sclerosis, seizure disorders like epilepsy, gastrointestinal ailments like IBS or Crohn's disease or GERD, or glaucoma. All of those qualify for medical marijuana throughout the western United States. And we have a doctor referral program with dozens of doctors across the western United States that can help you qualify, whether it be in Oregon, Washington, California, Hawaii, Colorado, Nevada. We can help. So if you need a referral, give us a call. Here in the Portland area where this show is taped, you can call our office at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. If you're up in Seattle, we have an office over in Bellevue, and this show runs on cable access, channel 77, every Saturday night at 11:30 p.m. And you can call the Seattle number. It's 206-878-1701. That's 206-878-1701. We also have an office in suburban Denver, and the Denver number, and this show runs on cable channel 58 in Denver. And you can call our Denver office at 303-403-9996. That's 303-403-9996. So if you're outside of the Portland, Denver, or Seattle metropolitan areas, you can call our toll-free number. And that toll-free number is 1-800-723-0188. 1-800-723-0188. So if you need a doctor, we have dozens of doctors across the western United States that can help. I want to thank you for watching. We're going to go out with another song by the illustrious Mr. Tim Pate. I want to remind you to tune in next week. We're going to be back for another